We are in our one of our tomato patches here, and it's getting close to that time where our first average frost date is merely about 30 days away. Now, average last frost date, now that is determined over the last 10 years of first frost dates, and they average the date. And ours here in southeast Wisconsin in zone 5A, 5B, based on where we're gardening, is about October 11th to the 18th. So we're about 1 month to that period. Now also, that doesn't mean it's going to happen. We've harvested tomatoes as late as the second week in November, and we've also had snow on the ground as the second week in November has arrived too. So we've got a lot of tomatoes that are in different stages of ripening or development that we want to get ripe before it freezes, before a frost, because a frost will kill them. Now, we have had some frost not kill tomatoes, so this is one of those 8 plus 8 is not always 16 solutions here. So what we're going to do here, there's several different techniques in which you can exercise in getting your tomatoes to get to that ripe stage quicker. Now, first of all, let's talk about the tomatoes. On a tomato plant, you've got the blossom, or you got the flower here. From the time you see that flower to the time that coloration begins to occur on the bottom of the tomato, and then a few days later, you're looking at about 20 to 30 days based on the type of tomato plant, the variety and the size, and et cetera, et cetera. So we pick them when we do see a color pigmentation change at the bottom, simply because we can bring them inside, and within 2-3 days tops, setting them on a counter in indirect sunlight, just ambient light, they will ripen and they're just as tasty. And it saves from critters and other things getting a hold of these and eating them and damaging them. So we're talking 20 to 30 days from the time we see the flower to the time that it is ready to harvest. So that's right in that window. So what you can do here is a couple of things. One, you can take your shears or your snippers or your scissors, and you can begin to trim the tops out of the plant. This has no flowers on it whatsoever. So what I'm doing here is I'm just cutting back some of the green here to stop vertical growth and work on more of the fruit development. Now, this is very similar as in garlic. We harvest the scapes, and some of you may notice after the scape is harvested, the plant dies back relatively quicker than on plants that you allow the scapes to continue to grow, simply because the scape is the seed production of the plant. Once the plant feels that the seeds are mature, the plant dies back, its life cycle is over. By removing that scape, you're essentially telling the plant, hey, you're done, and it will start dying back. So it's kind of the same process here. We're stopping, or we're telling the plant, hey, stop top growth, work on your reproduction of seeds and the tomatoes, and before it freezes. Now also, so we can do that. Another thing you can do is cut the water off to the plant. We have irrigation set up here, but we've had excessive amount of water. It rains about every 3 days. For some of you, that's incredible. That would be wonderful. Others of you, you don't want no more rain where you're at. So we can't really cut the water. We can stop irrigation, that's what we have done, but we can't really, put a tent over the tomato plants and prevent them from absorbing any more water. But that is also a way to stress the plant, and that's what we're doing. We're stressing the plant, because any plant, as we've discussed in the program, that is stressed will stop growth and work on seed production or fruit production to carry on the genetics of that plant for the next generation. And that's what we're wanting to do. We're wanting to get the plant into such a stress that it doesn't grow anymore. It just produces all the fruit that's currently on the plant, because ripe tomatoes are much more enjoyable than having to bring in or do different things with green tomatoes to maximize your yield. So that's another thing. Another trick that you can perform is cutting the roots. And you just take a shovel, and it sounds like a terrible, terrible thing, but around half of the plant, about 8-10 inches away, just jam your shovel in there, and you'll cut some of those roots. That also cause less water to be absorbed into the plant, as well as a stress indicator, or the plant will indicate there's a problem and also stress the plant out. You can also just kind of yank on the plant a little bit vertical as well, and that will also encourage some of the root to be broken in that sense as well. Now you can also, throughout the season, you can trim these back, and we can also trim some of these back like I talked about, you want to trim the top portions back. I would avoid trimming a lot of the side growth because the plant is designed by nature to allow the tomato to ripen, but also have some protection to where it doesn't sunburn these tomatoes. If you remove a lot of the plants, the leaves and the foliage, and open it up a lot, you're going to encourage that plant to, or the fruit to be sunburned, and it's going to be really not worth the effort. It's going to be, in some cases, not able to be eaten. So keep that in mind. We are going to do minimal stress to these plants because, again, we may have another 60 days of growing, or we may have another 15 days of growing. We will go until we can't go no more, and if we do see an end in sight, then we will kind of see where we're at in the situation of development on fruit and go from there. So if you're wanting to end the season on a high note and have all ripe tomatoes, those steps will greatly increase your chances of doing so.